What's up, guys? Welcome back to today's Misguided Mentors. Wanted to jump on here and have a little chat about something. Couple things, really. I had to make a couple little notes here just to make sure I touched base on the things that I wanted to talk about. But the primary thing I wanted to talk about was mistakes that I've made myself and mistakes I see people making, or not even mistakes that I see making. Things that could be a lot more helpful to pay attention to when you're going to like a networking event, any type of event in the self-development industry, whether it's a public speaking event, even a virtual, like a Zoom call, a webinar, or anything like that. And so I want to go over some of those things. These are some things I experienced and some things I want to help people be aware of. So let's make sure everything's working here. Looks like it is. If you are on Instagram, I want to make sure I got that rolling here. So I'm going to get that fired off so that people can also join in. 1 second here. Subscribe to my YouTube channel. So how is it going, guys and gals? Vegan Raw Cooked, how you doing? I wanted to say thank you for your comment on the last Instagram live me and Kira did. But my phone died, and so I couldn't share it. So anyways, if you're watching on here, by the way, Vegan Raw Cooked, if I don't know what your first name is, so apologize. Maybe you can drop it in the chat, but just so you're aware, if you hop on my YouTube channel and subscribe to that and you start commenting, I will be able to see your comments on the chat right in front of me, because I don't really pay attention to the Instagram feed while I'm doing a podcast on YouTube. So just a heads up on that, and to everybody else that's going to be joining on Instagram. So like I said, I already said it once here. I'm going to say it again now that I got the live stream rolling on Instagram, but I'm going to go over the 7 mistakes. At least the 7 mistakes. It's not like there's only 7. There's a lot. I just wanted to go over a handful of some of them. And they're mistakes that I see happening in the networking space. So the self-development space, any type of public speaking event, any type of mastermind, any type of virtual Zoom call, virtual webinar, anything like that. There are mistakes that I made and things that could have helped me when I went into it. And so I want to go over some of that stuff and see if I can help somebody navigate that space a little better and avoid some of the pitfalls that I encountered. And not only that, also just get give you my opinion on how I think a person should actually approach a networking event, because I certainly wasn't taught that. Matter of fact, a lot of people aren't like, the whole reason I started this channel was not to just call people out. That was not the main reason at all. That was secondary. The main reason was to uplift people the right way, help them, bring awareness to the self-development space, and then also like point out certain tools that could be utilized when you're navigating this predatory atmosphere. And so that's what it's really about. I think sometimes people get confused and think that like I'm just here to call people out and make fun of people. I was just telling my buddy Chris Spalding, who seen one of my posts. He said he was dying with laughter so much. And I love that. Like that's the humorous side of me that I bring to my content, right? I like to just have fun. I told him I like having fun while also bringing awareness and preparing people and uplifting people. So that's the message, and that's the intention with the podcast and the content out there. So I'm going to start doing that. So a few things. First, I want to ask you guys a question. How you doing, Lorraine? I want to ask everybody a question. If you're on Instagram or if you're on, Lorraine, that's right. I did see now I know your name. Okay. I did see your name on there earlier on a different stream. So thank you for doing that. I want to ask people a question. I want to start doing more regular, not just podcasting, but like a regular bit, something I'm going to do every day. I'm going to stream live every single day. And I'd love to get your guys' comments. Like, what would you like to see me cover every single day at a certain time? I don't know whether it's going to be in the morning or an evening, but I think it's probably going to be in the morning. I'd like to do something in the morning, and it'd be nice if I was just consistent with it. It was something that I just made sure I did. And so I'd love to get any feedback in the comments as far as what you'd like me to cover, anything regarding misguided mentors, maybe self-development news. That was the initial thought I had. The thought initially is like, maybe I'll just cover current news in the self-development space regarding anybody who's like a thought leader, anybody who's like a guru. That might be something easy for me to do. And so maybe I'll start off with that, but I thought I'd at least bring it to your guys' attention. So if you have any direction, let me know, because I'm open-minded to that, and I'd love to hear your thoughts on that. So let's get into this. I gotta say, I'm getting really excited. Like in the morning is like when I'm working out is probably the best time for me, and like my thoughts, and where I got good ideas on what I'm going to be doing, how I'm going to be doing it. And lately, the last few days, I've had some really good thoughts on, I don't know if you call it courses, maybe you can call it courses, which is kind of funny because I'm gonna do a separate podcast on this pretty soon. But I am gonna start putting out courses, and probably more live chats or live Zoom calls that people can interact with me in. And it's funny because I call out people and make fun of people who are putting out courses. But the one thing I'm noticing is that like 95% of people who are actually doing like courses and selling a bunch of courseware, one, it's not really helpful. Two, it's a bunch of fluff. It's a bunch of bullshit. And three, most of them are unethical. And so I realized the hesitancy with me actually putting out a course, because I'm afraid of someone calling me out and saying, oh, you're just like all these other guys. On the contrary, actually, out of the 95% of people who are out here scamming and putting out unethical stuff and really unhelpful things, I thought that there should at least be one person, a small percentage. There are ethical people out there, I know some of them, ethical leaders out here who are putting out courses and doing stuff like that, but they don't pressure you. They don't fear monger you. They don't say that you should or need something from them. I'm the same way. And so I thought I'd, not be hesitant to put out some stuff, because what I'm going to be putting out is going to be very helpful. And I wish someone would have had something like what I'm going to be talking about and helping people with, especially young entrepreneurs or entrepreneurs in general. I wish I would have gotten into those type of courses before I ever got involved in going to events, doing networking, doing that stuff. Like preparing people should be the first course somebody should do. You know what I mean? Like I'm probably going to put out courses that say, wait, before you go to any networking event, before you join that webinar, before you go to a public speaking event, you check this course out. I don't care if I do it for free, $20, whatever. Like it's going to be beneficial, and I'm going to give you like just a little taste of some of the stuff I'll be talking about within these courses. So anyways, that's a whole separate thing I'll talk about, is the conversation I've been having with several people about me being hesitant to put out a course because I'm afraid of the hate that's going to come my way. I don't care. It's coming. And so the thing about it is, one, I don't care because I'm so confident in it, and I understand that I'm coming from a place of good intent. I have a good heart. I'm not here to push anything on anybody. It's here. If you see value in it, then it's here. Like that's my approach. I'm never a hard seller. I'm not my whole approach is never like, you need this, I have the answer, seek me for success and all that stuff. That's not my vibe. And it never has been. So you'll see a clear difference. So I want to talk about the 7 mistakes that I came up with real briefly. And yeah, exactly, Lorraine. The latest stuff, the false gurus in the space and strategies they use, people just need to watch out for in the latest scams, 100%. And so I'll talk about some of that stuff in here. So there are mistakes that you can make if you go into a networking event unprepared, unaware, and not protected. And so I want to talk about some of those things. All right. And so I want to kind of just blast through this and be real efficient with the time here. The first one is the first thing I'm going to tell you guys, anybody who's listening, if you either have been going to these events or you're just thinking about getting started, or all you've been doing is watching YouTubes, because this can pertain to that as well. I think it's important for a person to know themselves. Now we're talking about something a little spiritual and a little bit deep right now. Knowing yourself, who you are, your ethics, your morals, your character, your intention with relationships with people, or no intention. That is super important to understand about yourself before you ever get out there into that space and start networking and put yourself in a web of predators. Let's put it that way. Because generally speaking, in my experience, when you go to a lot of networking events, it's a room filled with people who have an agenda. It's a room filled with people who are conceiving relationships on deception, meaning they're not there to actually make a true friendship. They're not there to get to know you, not on a deep level. They're there to get to know you for business purposes. It's a real transactional vibe that's going on. It's a very, the feeling of expectations. And that's what I mean by relationships conceived on deception. People are usually interacting with other people, not because they want to like get to know people or establish any meaningful relationship, but because they think they're going to get something out of it, either then, immediately, or down the road. And it's such a fake energy that is being perpetuated and reverberating in these rooms, in this atmosphere. And so that's the first thing I want you guys to be prepared of. So knowing yourself, now that you know that, knowing yourself, being real grounded in who you are, being able to say no. And I think I might have even said, or might have even put that, yeah, that's the next one. So I'll get into that in a second. But knowing yourself is going to help you be able to say no strongly. And when people are afraid to, that's a thing I'm going to jump into here in a second. But I do want to put it out there like that, because not knowing yourself, not knowing your morals, not knowing your ethics, not knowing yourself on a deep level. I talk about this with Kira quite a bit. That's the first problem. I always talk about this story actually when I was talking to Kira. I was telling her I think fear is the biggest problem that some of these people have going into these spaces. And then she emphasized to me, well, I think it's actually something different. I think it's not knowing yourself. And I thought about it and I was like, shit, you're right. I was like, it's totally not knowing yourself, because if you don't know yourself, you're more susceptible to start inviting fear and doubt and uncertainty and seeking answers and seeking things outside of yourself. I'm not saying you can't learn from people. I'm not saying you can't get value from a networking event. I'm not saying you can't get value from learning from somebody. What I'm saying is you need to approach it knowing you already have all the tools inside of you. You need to approach it with this confidence within yourself that you can feel whether the energy is good or bad when interacting with somebody. It's going to help you make better decisions. It's going to help you say no to the wrong ones. It's going to help you notice red flags that you would ignore if you didn't know yourself, or if you weren't paying attention to that, which happens more likely than you think. It happens quite a bit. People ignore the red flags. Next thing you know, you combine that with certain things, these mistakes, they all add up, right? Ignoring red flags and not being able to say no. Next thing you know, you got someone here putting the pressure on you, shaming you, guilt tripping you, doing all kinds of psychological maneuvering and brainwashing you. And trust me, you'll start making decisions that you never thought you'd be making. And you'll start making decisions that you didn't want to, and regret, and all that's going to come down the pipe if you're not going in prepared. So that's the first thing. Make sure you know who you are as a person before you ever decide to go, before you even start watching YouTube videos when you go into watching somebody and learning from them on YouTube. I would also approach this that way as well. Like, know yourself before you start consuming someone's content on YouTube. Know yourself before you start going to networking events. Know yourself before you jump on a Zoom call, a group Zoom call, learning from somebody. Know yourself before you go to a public speaking event, a mastermind, webinar, anything. Like, get grounded with yourself first, all right? So that's the first mistake that people make. They don't know themselves. They go into these events unprepared. Next thing you know, they are prey to the predator in this atmosphere. It can be predatory, and it's a dangerous world out there if you're not prepared. Again, I'm not telling you to be scared. What I'm telling you to do is be prepared to stay and get strong, because it's on the contrary. I'm not telling you I'm telling you to be strong is what I'm saying. Being strong doesn't mean I'm asking you to be scared. It's just paying attention to yourself. Exactly, Lorraine. You are entitled to charge for your time, expertise, etc. when putting a course together. Yeah, exactly. It's it's okay. It's okay to sell something. It's okay to put something out there if you coming from a place of not just good intentions, but you actually have a good heart and you actually care about people. Not and also just being like really logical and reasonable. There's a lot of people out here who are actually scamming and doing evil shit that honestly, I think they believe they're actually helping people. So that's a scary place to be too. And I've noticed a lot of these gurus are in that place. They've been doing things the wrong way. They've sold themselves a lie for so long, they've lost themselves. And so, I'm very grounded in being a mentor, even in a space of misguided mentors. So, and being authentic, 100%. I love that word, because in the self-development space, it's funny you said that, because that is one of the things I was talking about on here as well. So there's actually more mistakes. Like I said, I just came up with 7, and maybe I'll jump on here another time and do some more. But yeah, being authentic was going to be a whole nother thing I talked about. But all right, so not being able to say no is the second mistake. I talked about that already a little bit. You will be shocked how many people have a really hard time telling people no. It is more of a problem than you think. Peer pressure it doesn't just exist in middle school and in high school and in adolescents or teenagers. It exists in the sales and the business self-development industry as well. I've seen it. It's happened to me. I was a person who was afraid to say no for many reasons. It wasn't just that. There's a lot of things that played part in that and getting me to not say no and making decisions I didn't want to and spending money I didn't want to. But that's primarily a mistake that when I break it down, the biggest mistake I made was not knowing myself. But once it's not just that, it's also just being able to just say no. Like that's a mistake. If you can't say no to somebody, you're going to have a hard time. I would not suggest anybody going to a networking event if you can't say no to somebody. You have a hard time with that, you should work on that. And there's actually a challenge I'm going to be doing. I was talking to Kira about this, where I'm going to, I'm going to include it in the course, and it's going to be a fun little challenge, but it's going to, in regards to saying no to people. But yeah, learning how to say no is a superpower. It's crazy. It's, and you don't have to be an ass about it. It's just asserting yourself and being grounded and having boundaries and being able to, not worry about not fitting in or being worried about not being accepted because you said no to somebody. Like there's a lot of stuff people get caught up in their head about. And there's a reason why they have a hard time saying no. And that is one of the biggest mistakes people can make when you're going into a place where someone's trying to sell you something aggressively. And when I say aggressively, sometimes it's not always in your face. Sometimes it's very subtle, and they like to shame you and point things out. I thought you wanted to invest in yourself. I thought you were serious about actually growing. I thought you were serious about getting out of your comfort zone. That doesn't seem so aggressive when they're putting it that way, right? That's aggressive though. And when someone doesn't have the strength and the fortitude to say no, that stuff will break you down. And for other reasons, combined with the inability to say no, you will start paying. You will start making decisions on stuff that probably is not in your best interest, personally and in professionally as well. Yeah, Lorraine, you were saying that was you. You lost money. And it was so silly because at the time you knew you didn't want to buy the product. Exactly. And so you know exactly what I'm talking about. And a lot of people have done this. And by the way, this is not a fun topic to talk about for most people. I'm comfortable talking about it because I'm using myself as an example. And I know I was brainwashed, and I know I had all these problems. I made all these mistakes and I wasn't prepared. No one taught me, which is why I'm trying to teach people. But for people like me and Lorraine and many other people, this isn't uncommon. Like, not being able to say no is something that sales reps, especially fear-mongering sales reps, they understand that. And they prey on that, and they really try to go after that. And they bank on that. And it's like you wanted the person to see you as a go-getter. Exactly. There's another reason. Yeah, there's so many reasons why people have an inability to say no. But yeah, I think from what you explained, you did want to say no. You didn't want to buy it. So, and I've spent tens and thousands of dollars on things, 20,000 here, 40,000 there, 5,000 here, where I was like, I didn't even why did I buy that? Like, I didn't even need it. I just literally, was I trying to impress that person? Was I trying to fit in? Was I like, there's so many reasons that played factors in that. But, yeah, being able to say no, that's the next thing that you got to get used to doing. So that's the first mistake, not being able to, or excuse me, the second mistake, not being able to say no. The third one, all right, let's talk about energy. We're going to go back to that spiritual part. Not being able, having a hard time feeling energy. And so what I wrote down was, never buy a course or mentorship or coaching without feeling the type of energy. This goes back to knowing yourself so well. What comes with that, what comes with the ability to get in touch with your intuition and your conscience to do what's right and see what's right, you can feel energy. Now, I'm not talking about, so this isn't some woo-woo thing. This isn't some tree hugger concept. This is very real. This is an absolute real thing. And if you're really in touch with yourself and your intuition, you'll be able to tell whether it feels right or it feels wrong. When something is off and it feels off, it usually is. And so those are the type of red flags a lot of people ignore. And so I try to keep it stupid simple when I'm talking about this concept. Like, when you're talking to somebody, either it feels good or it doesn't. You can tell if this person is a giver or a taker. You can tell if they genuinely want to connect with you or if they just want something from you. You can tell if they have an expectation. I don't care if it's a little bit. If you can feel that energy and you are well aware of this, it's undeniable. And so paying attention to the energy within a one-on-one interaction and in a room full of people is super important, because you're about to put, like, in a networking event, I don't care if it's 10 people or 10,000, you're putting yourself in everybody else's energy. And if you're not going in understanding that and being grounded and believing that there's a reverberating energy in this atmosphere that could invade you or uplift you, you can be taken advantage of. That stuff will infiltrate your energy faster than you realize it. And even for the people that realize it, for me personally, when I get caught up in a room like that, it actually is draining for me, because I got to sit here and absorb everybody else's energy, all this fake ass energy, people acting like they care about each other, being disingenuous, unauthentic, expecting things from people, all the stuff I was just talking about. Conceiving relationships on deception. That's just exhausting to me, because I feel like I'm like one of few in the room who is just there to, like, I have no expectations other than just making friends, connecting with the right people, and getting to know people. I'm not there for money. I'm not there for business. I'm not there for... Now, if something like that presented itself, I'll know when it feels right, but that is not my intention. And so it's very exhausting is what I'm saying. And so I got to decompress after going to something like that. I was just on a live stream with Kira the other day and talking about how she used to have panic attacks when we went to the 10X Growth Conference. And that was the exact reason why, is because she's so, she's an empath, as she says. And so she feels all that energy quite a bit. And so I understand why she was going through that. At the time I was brainwashed. And so I was ignoring all the red flags and not in touch with myself. And I was doing all the mistakes that I'm talking about now, and I didn't understand it. I'm like, what's going on with you? But I get it now. What's up, Ann? How you doing? Yeah, you were saying you're so grateful I caught on before you caught on before you got too deep, but you are in debt because you bought into the manifesting community hype in a vulnerable time. Yeah. So, yeah, God, this is something I talk about. Oh, you know what? That's another thing. I don't want to forget that because I talk about it, but I always forget to put it down as a topic. So I always talk about something good being used for bad in many contexts. And so in the self-development space, this happens quite a bit. They'll use something good that is good, affirmations and manifestation, and use it against, like use it for evil. Because I hope that you didn't have a bad, you had a bad experience, but I hope you don't think because of that bad experience with the manifesting community that manifesting in itself is a bad thing. I believe in manifesting. I believe in affirmations, not as much as my girlfriend, but I believe in it to a certain extent. I have a different angle and a different thought on it, but I think it's very helpful and it's very real. Let me give you an example. I've told this story before. Let me give you an example of how manifesting was used against me to deceive me into buying something for $18,000. So the first, back in 2020, I believe, the first product or service, I should say, that I bought from Grant Cardone in the 10X community was what they call Cardone University. It's basically a platform that hosts a bunch of his videos talking and teaching. Well, when I was being sold this product, they were basically, the sales rep on the other line was trying to sell me a Cardone University corporate account, which basically is 10 accounts. 10 Cardone University accounts for 10 people. Okay. I told him, I don't need all that. There's only 2 employees. There's me and there's a laborer. And sometimes I'm doing all of it. I'm building and installing, and I'm the only sales rep. So I don't need 10 accounts. I'm the only sales rep. So I just need 1. And then they used that manifesting thing on me and basically were handling that objection, was telling me, well, did you want 10 sales reps at some point? I'm like, of course I do, but I just ain't there right now. And they're like, well, you're never going to get the 10 sales reps unless you actually make this purchase and bring that to life. Like until you actually commit to it and manifest it, you're not actually going to get the 10 sales reps. And I was like, yeah, I guess that makes sense, and talked myself into it, ignored the red flags, thought it was part of manifesting. I was like, fuck it, I'll do it. Next thing you know, I signed a paper, got locked into a 3-year, $18,000 program that I didn't need. And I never did get 10 sales reps. At the most, I had 3, and including me as a third one. So I never did need 10 at the time. So anyways, that's an example of how something good can be used for bad. That was a terrible experience. So going back to that third mistake, never buy a course or going to the networking event or virtual networking event without being able to pay attention to energies, good and bad. Super important. By the way, guys, if you're on the Instagram page, if you could please go to my YouTube channel. I just posted it at the top here. Today's Misguided Mentors is the name of it. I'm going to put it in here again. Let's see here. Okay, go to YouTube, subscribe to Today's Misguided Mentors, or go to my bio and click on the link in the bio. Subscribe, that way I can see your guys' comments in real time, just like Lorraine's and Ann's and anybody else who joins, all right? I appreciate you guys. Brickell, make sure you subscribe to my YouTube channel as well. I'm not sure if you had done that yet or not. All right, on to the fourth one. So, all right, this is super important. This is the fourth mistake I've wrote down. Not knowing the types of sayings that can brainwash you. Again, you might have noticed all these are kind of tying in, right? Not knowing yourself, not being able to say no, not being able to feel the type of energy, and then not being aware of the types of sayings that could actually infiltrate your mind and get you to adopt someone's thought process. You combine all these things. If you make all these, you can maybe make one mistake and be okay, but when you start making 3 or 4 of these mistakes and combine it, you ain't got a fucking chance. You have no chance. I'm telling you. It is a real thing. I see it happening to people who are not successful. I don't care if you paid $1,000 to get in the room or if you paid $20,000 to get in the room. I've seen it happen to the best of people. They get taken for, they get brainwashed. And so being able to identify certain sayings is also going to, and reading the energy in those sayings is also going to help you stay protected. So what do I mean by sayings? I think I did this on a podcast already, but I'll run by some of these sayings again. Success leaves clues. Proximity is power. Your network is your net worth. Your net worth is your network, I believe is the proper way of saying it. You've heard some of these, right? Commit first, figure out the rest later. Those who pay attention, right? Money follows attention. Like all these sayings, invest in yourself. These are all sayings. Again, another example of how good sayings, some of them are good, could be used for bad. Like investing in yourself, obviously, yes, that could be good in context, but does that mean you need to spend $20,000 with a mentor to give you the answers and seek him for success? No, I would say in that scenario that the invest in yourself comment, it's not helpful. So understanding these types of sayings and understanding what hooks your ass, what gets you, you're either going into this place knowing this and being fortified and having like a force field around your brain, or you're not caring what you're adopting. You're not caring what's going into your brain. Next thing you know, they are seed planting. They ain't just planting some seeds. They're planting a forest in your mind in a short period of time too. And so super important to understand the types of sayings that these people are using to get inside your head so that they can use that against you later and get you to make a decision that you didn't want to and spend money that you didn't want to, and is not the best decision for you as well. Now, I'm not saying, again, I'm not trying to say that they're all like that. I'm saying there's a very small percentage of ethical leaders out there, though, unfortunately, especially in the self-development space. So make sure you're paying attention so you know what is the right thing to do, who is the right person to get involved in, and who to stay away from and who to say no to. All right, next one. Recognize there are fears recognize when their fears are being preyed on. Okay, so if you got some fears, which we all do, we have some type of fear. We all have even a little bit of fear. You got to recognize when you are in the presence of a sales rep or a community or a program that is trying to prey on your fear. All right. If they're trying to shame you, guilt you, interrogate you, harass you, that's all manipulation. That's all deception. It's there to deceive you into making you think that they actually care about you. And so pay attention to that. These guys are sharp. They are trained. Some of them know what they're doing. Some of them don't know what they're doing, and they're just robots and have learned from people who know what they're doing. So it's scary on all levels. So make sure that you are paying attention to the fears that you have, and make sure you can recognize when someone's trying to prey on those fears and someone's trying to pierce the veil to get to you through your fears. Okay. Let's see. Oh, that was the other thing I wanted to say when it comes to, I guess this is a separate one. So we're on to the 3, 5, 6 mistake. This is a mistake that a lot of people make, and I think it's hard for people to admit this, but I'm going to bring it to light. Recognize your attraction to fit in with the community, and stop ignoring those signs that, that's a biological need. So recognize your own attraction to want to fit in with the community. It feels good. It feels good to fit in with the community. It feels good to have your people surrounding you. All right. But that doesn't mean you need to give up your morals. That doesn't mean you need to not say no. That doesn't mean you don't need to be grounded. Like if you have to give all that up at the expense of, or if you have to fit in with the community at the expense of giving all that up, that's not the solution. All right. Now you have degraded yourself, you've disrespected yourself, and you've made yourself vulnerable in the worst ways. I'm not saying this is the worst way to make yourself vulnerable is to not be grounded. Vulnerability is a great thing, but when you make yourself a target like that for people who are there to prey on you for their needs, for their agenda, for their self-serving desires, that's a terrible position to be in. And so I want people to recognize like there's a biological human need or desire to fit in with people, with a tribe, with a community. And not every community is for you. Again, I'm not saying there's terrible communities all over the place, but it's terrible. If you think it's just one person that's bad, imagine getting around a community who all thinks like alike, and they're all kind of being taught and being brainwashed essentially to treat people the same way. Essentially, you're going to assume the position. Essentially, you're going to lose yourself just like I did. And you're going to become a person you never thought you were ever going to be. You're going to abandon your true self. You're going to feel like you're in a mental prison. All these things, you gotta be aware. Like, notice that you want to fit in, and make sure you're fitting in with what makes sense and what feels right. If you decide to get involved with a community, not everybody needs a community. Not everybody should be in a community. Maybe, I don't know. I just know that I've noticed people have a biological desire to fit in with people. And that is something that misguided mentors prey on. All right. And so stay protected with that. And this goes back to knowing yourself. This is part of knowing not only yourself, but humans, humanity. So if you don't know it, I guarantee, like, if you don't know that you deep down have a biological desire to fit in with somebody, and then the people that are trained and selling you know that, they're going to use that to their advantage, which they do. And so, yes, that goes back to the mistake number one I talked about is starting from the bottom. Know yourself as your own character, and know like your human deficiencies. And that's not deficiency. What's the best word to call that? Your biological desires. Let's put it that way. Because those are hard. That's just biology. You can't really ignore that. It's there. And so what can you do? You acknowledge it and you work with it. All right. All right. So let's get down here to the seventh one, I guess. All right. So I talked about this already a little bit. Not knowing, this is the seventh mistake, not knowing if someone is creating a genuine relationship with zero expectations or if they're just creating a transactional one. All right, I talked about this already. So you have to, and this goes back into the energy. I'm sure you can see that there's a tie-in with a lot of these mistakes, right? That I'm pointing out I made and I see other people making. And so when you're talking with someone one-on-one, I know I already said this in here, but I'll say it again. You really got to make sure you can read the energy. If you pay close attention, you are going to find out if this person just wants to befriend you and get to know you as a person, or if they really just want something from you. You can really, really tell. So pay attention to that, for God's sakes. That's something that's super important these days, because there's a lot of people who really navigate this world with a self-serving energy. There's not a lot of people with servant hearts. There's not a lot of people that are helping people or just living and being a person who cares about people just for the sake of caring about people. Like, there's a lot of people that actually are like, what's in it for me? A lot of people some people wake up just that way. They're like, they're so lost. They're like, what's in it for me? What's in it? What am I going to get out of today? And they take that into the business world. And so I want you to be real protected with that and make sure you're hyper aware of that energy. I got some dry throat. Hey, what's up, guys? If you're just hopping on Instagram live, Another reminder to join and subscribe, rather, to my YouTube podcast channel. That way I can see your comments, and I can get more. I'm trying to get that channel up so that I can get better at it, get more views, get more reach and stuff like that. And again, not for me, because I'm trying to help people. And in order to do that, I need your guys' help. So I appreciate everybody's support and the continued support in what I'm trying to do here. Thank you so much. Let's see here. I'll go into, what was the last thing? There was something I wanted to make sure. Okay, so I talked about all those. I'm going to save these other ones for a different day because I did say there's only 7 mistakes. So that's 7 mistakes that I talked about, I made, and I see people making when they go into networking events. The last thing I want to leave people with is, okay, now that you know the mistakes, I'm going to leave you with how you should approach a networking event. All right, this is what I wish someone would have taught me, because I was not taught anything. I was taught things by default. And so there was not actually any training on like how to navigate the networking space, how to navigate the self-development matrix, which there really needs to be, which is why I'm putting this stuff out there and why I am going to make courses on this. All right, because I think before anybody buys a course, they should do a course about the course world, if that makes sense. You know what I mean? Yeah, Anna, you were saying Anne, I think it's Anne, it's so small for me to read. The first thing you look for is the elevator pitch in the blow when discerning if a person is trying to sell you something or actually wants to make a friendly connection. Yeah, exactly. Sometimes you don't have to make a pitch either. Even at networking events, when I introduce myself, I don't say any of that shit. I used to be like, "Hi, I'm Ben, founder of Precision Powder Covers, founder of Massive Impact Coaching, award-winning author, international public speaker, so and so, such and such." Like all these titles and labels that I thought built my credibility and value, because at that time I was serving my ego and I was serving myself, and I was worried about a facade that I was creating. Now I don't do any of that shit. Now I'm just like, "Hey, my name's Ben. I'd love to tell you more about myself, and more specifically, I'd love to learn more about you. So if you'd like to create a relationship, make sure you connect with me before we get out of here." I don't say anything about what I do, because I'm not there for that. I'm just really not trying to put that energy out. And some people think I'm fucking out of my mind for doing that at a networking event, but that's just the way I want to do it. Even at the last public speaking event, I don't think I said much in that regard. It was more about like, "Hey, connect with me on stage, on a panel speaking." Everybody else said, I think there was one other guy that did the same thing actually. And I was like, "Oh, hey, he's on the same vibe as me." So that was refreshing. But yeah, I hear what you're saying. It's all about elevator pitching and getting people to take interest in you based on your titles and your labels that you've created, what you're good at. And really, I think the best connections are coming off of a genuine, authentic one-on-one conversation with somebody. So I don't do that anymore. So going back to what I said, now that you know the 7 mistakes that I commonly see and, I think should be paid attention to, I think that the best advice I could give to someone who is either just getting started in the self-development space, you're just starting to consume someone's YouTube content, learning stuff from them, you're doing webinars, you're going to public speaking events, the best advice I can give you is exactly the opposite of what I've been saying on the mistakes. Go in there with no expectations. Do not go into that thinking about how you're going to get money. I don't care if you're broke and you really want money and you're trying to figure that out. You should not go into there with that mentality. You should not go in. If you can frame your mindset into just making friends, all the stuff that you were chasing, if it was money, if it was genuine relationships, all that stuff, if you let it go and you go into these events letting all that stuff go and not chasing it, all that's going to really come to you naturally. And I guess this goes back into laws of attraction and manifesting and all that stuff. But that stuff only really works if you're truly letting it go and you truly do not care about it. That doesn't mean you don't like it when it happens, but that doesn't mean, like, just don't go in expecting that and chasing it. You know what I mean? I always talk about, like, everybody always brings up the John Maxwell's laws of attraction or law of, I can't remember. I don't know. He's got too many laws. Anyways, I don't think that works. Laws of attraction. Let's talk about that. Law of attraction only works when you truly let go and you're not attracted to it, really, if that makes sense. The things I used to chase came to me when I let it go and I actually didn't give a fuck if I got it or not. It was quite remarkable, actually, how fast that happened. And so that's what I'm trying to emphasize to people is go into these networking events not wanting anything. Just go in there and be yourself and connect with the right people. You're going to know it. If you're doing all these things, you're knowing yourself, you're grounded, you got the ability to say no, all these things I just went over, you're paying attention to energy. You're going to know when the right person is there to interact with. You're going to know when the right course to buy is there or whatever. The public speaking event, someone's inviting you to something else. You're going to know it. It's going to feel right or it's going to feel wrong. And so just paying attention to that is going to help you a hell of a lot. So that's what I wanted to leave you guys with. I wanted to go over the 7 mistakes that I've noticed and then also just leave you with how I would recommend to anybody who's, and this goes for people who have been navigating the self-development matrix for years already. I don't care if you've been doing it for 20 years. This could be good to hear. This is a good refresher to know, because I'm telling you right now, some people get lost, and that's not talking shit. That's not being rude or anything. That's just reality. I've seen people who are in it for 2 years and get lost and then realize, like, wow, what am I doing? And then people be in it for a couple decades and like, wow, what have I been doing? I can't believe this. And some people stay in it forever, never wake up. Some people, go to their grave doing this fake relationship, money chasing, disingenuous, not authentic approach to networking events. And it's really disgusting to see. And it's really sad to see. And so if I can get in front of this and help some people out, or just plant a seed of positivity in somebody who's been behaving like this for a long time, then I think I'm doing my part. That's what my goal is, to really help people with this and pay attention to the stuff that either they haven't seen in other people or the way they've been behaving themselves and have been ignoring as well. So a lot of stuff with this topic. And I'm really glad that, I don't know anybody who's talking about this when it comes to the reality of what's going on in networking events or the reality of what's going on in the self-development space. And so that's why I'm so passionate about it, especially after, in my opinion, getting taken advantage of, getting sold a dream, spending, almost $250,000 with my mentor and getting deceived and never getting anything that was promised, or, never delivering on everything they said they were going to do. I'm awake. I'm wide awake, and I've learned something, and I'm not going to just let that slide. And I'm not going to be like a lot of people and brush it under the rug and move on. I'm going to take accountability, one, and then I'm going to talk about it, and I'm going to help people in that regard. So that's my mission, that's my calling, and that's what my passion is these days. Yeah, Lorraine, it's good to hear someone like me is talking about this, and you appreciate that. Thank you so much. I really appreciate that. It actually means a lot to hear that other people see the value in the stuff I'm talking about, because this is real. This is a real thing. This is cult-like mentality. This is cult-like behavior. And ironically, when I left the organization I was a part of, I found out that they were, not only was my mentor part of a cult, a known cult, but that I was essentially being turned into a Scientologist without even knowing it. And that was fucking scary, to be honest. And I was quite upset, because it's such a under the radar thing. It's cults are scary. Doesn't matter if it's a religious cult, a self-development cult. Cults are just scary. And I think going back to the first mistake I was talking about today, not knowing yourself, you can easily get sucked into a cult of some sort. So pay attention to that. If you're in the networking space, hopefully I helped you out with some of these mistakes that I made and some of the mistakes, the common mistakes I'm seeing people make in this atmosphere. Let me know how I can improve. Reach out to me too if you got an experience of your own. Maybe we could talk about it. At some point, I'm going to be doing interviews on this as a interview podcast, and so getting people lined up to talk about their story is the next step. And so if you think you got a good conversation or something you want to share with me, send me your information. Reach out to me, either an email. All my information's on YouTube or on Instagram. If you're on Instagram, reach out to me there as well. Yeah, I'd love to connect. I'd love to chat with you. And yeah, Lorraine, you were also saying that's what drew you to listen to me and sign up to my channel. Thank you so much. I really do appreciate that. Thank you so much. And yeah, like I said, I've had a lot of people reach out to me and say, "Oh, I seen you talking on someone else's podcast," or "I seen you, somehow I came across your profile and I heard you said the right thing at the exact time I needed to hear it, and it saved me from spending, whatever, $20,000 with this person or that person. There was something off and I didn't know what it was. And I heard you talking is exactly what I felt. And somehow it just clicked." I've heard some crazy stories. People have reached out to me and told me some crazy stories. So, having people like you, Lorraine, validate that I'm on the right path and helping people in the right way, it keeps me going as well. And so having people like that also reach out to me and tell me some of their horror stories and tell me how I helped them, that keeps me going as well. So I really appreciate everybody's support. I'm not saying that just to say it because it sounds cool. I actually appreciate everybody's support greatly. So I'm going to keep it coming. And Kat, Aaron did a quick live on Grant Minutes, titled "Grant is Going to Jail." Interesting. I'm gonna have to check that out. It'd be nice to get back on Aaron's Growing Up in Scientology podcast. I had a really good conversation with him, and so I think it'd be cool to get back on his podcast actually. But I appreciate you too, Kat. Thank you so much for everybody supporting me. Oh, by the way, if you didn't hear me in the beginning, I said I'm going to start doing like a morning live. I don't care if it's 20 minutes, 30 minutes. I want to do something every single day. And so give me your ideas in the chats and the comments after I post this, maybe what you would like to hear me talk about or bring light to every single day. Right now, the only idea I have is just like self-development news, which means I would go and look for the latest news on a guru or something like that, or self-development industry related, and talk about it and break it down. So if you have any ideas, bring it to my attention. I'm open ears, and just put it in the comments here. All right. Other than that, I'm going to hop off here. You guys have a fantastic rest of your evening, and I'll catch you guys next time. All right. Take care.